Hey everyone, today I have exciting news, lots of updates, maybe some life updates later in the video, but I'll definitely start with all the art related stuff. So let's get into it. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Irit. I'm a watercolor and mixed media artist based in Austria in Europe, and on my channel I share all my arty adventures. Now I have a really fun new thing to share with you. It's a new ebook and I'll put the details on the screen. It's called the Watercolor Mixing E-Book and it contains hundreds and hundreds, I think I counted, it's a little bit over 1,000 of unique mixtures that you can create with watercolors. Now the idea here was that a lot of us struggle to kind of create our perfect watercolor palette, or maybe we want to try all the beautiful new super granulating watercolors that companies are coming out with, but we don't really know how different they are from what we have or how they will mix with what we have. And this is exactly why I created this book. So there are other color mixing books out there. I think there are a few that are also dedicated to watercolors, but what I have found, I think the best ones, or the ones that are considered the best, and they are a very useful resource. But usually what they tend to do is kind of focus on very traditional colors, you know, the siennas, the ultramarines, like all those things that we all know and love. But they don't really have any of these super granulating, separating watercolors that are very, very trendy, and I'm grateful for that because I love that effect. And beyond that, they don't really include, or very, very little information about mixing complementary colors, which is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful, exciting things you can try with your colors. We all know kind of what's going to happen when we'll mix cadmium yellow with an ultramarine blue, and those traditional mixes are not included in this book. I didn't want to create what is already out there, and I only wanted to kind of add to it. So I mixed a lot of watercolors, and what I focused on were unique colors that have a special quality to them. They can be kind of more opaque or have a strong granulation or an interesting color separation. And I mostly tried to mix them with colors that I wasn't really sure what I was going to get. I wanted to kind of eliminate that surprise. So the way that I think is best to use this book is, there are a few ways you can use it. One is to use it as a reference. If you have the colors in the book, so you can just look at the book and see what kind of color mixes you can create from those colors. However, another great way to use it is if you're looking to add more watercolors to your palette, but you're not really sure if they're going to give you anything that you don't already have, or you kind of want to choose the best ones. And in this case, I would suggest looking through the book and seeing those combinations that create an entire range that you love. Don't pick a color that, you know, in a certain ratio mixed with other color will give you a nice mixture, and then the other ones you're kind of meh about. Look for the ones that create an entire range that is beautiful and unique. And when you will see like so many of these mixtures, you will understand how powerful it is to mix your own watercolors, and you can really create gorgeous combinations and mixes that you will never be able to get straight from the tube. So to me, this is kind of the most exciting way to use the book. Now, I also include an empty template, so you can create your own mixes. You can just print it in your home printer. You can resize it if you feel comfortable with it. I sized it to kind of match the size of the book, which is a letter size, a US letter size, but of course you can print it on any other size that you wish. You just want to make sure, if you're doing this, you want to make sure that your printer ink is waterproof, water resistant. Otherwise, once you start adding watercolors, it's going to be a mess. I have an Epson printer And I think I also have like some generic brand ink, not the original Epson ink, and it works perfectly, but you want to make sure that your printer ink is waterproof. You will see that unlike many other color mixing book, I used a lot of brands. I love creating my Superstar palette featuring many watercolor brands. I don't think that any one brand gets it perfect all the time, especially when it comes to personal taste. Like I can have my, you know, perfect cobalt violet from one brand and really not like another brand's version. So it's not about which brand is the best, it's about finding those colors and formulations that work the best for you. And so I included lots of brands. We have Daniel Smith and Schminke and Sennelier and Rembrandt and many more. And what I also include is the pigment information, because this is another thing that I try to say all the time. Most brands make kind of mostly the same colors. And then there are those unique mixtures. I think Daniel Smith is a great example of unique colors. They use like genuine minerals and precious stones, which is kind of unique. And they do have some colors that are very hard to find in other brands, or maybe they're just not available in your part of the world. And then another example is Schminke's new super granulating watercolors, which you can duplicate with certain pigments, but they are really fun to play around with. And again, when you start mixing those with other colors, you don't know what you're gonna get. So I'm trying to take out a little bit of the mystery there. So some colors are unique, but many others, like all the classical watercolors, you know, the ochres, the siennas, the umbers, the ultramarines, all these are pretty comparable across brand. And so I included also the pigment information, so you can kind of see if maybe you have already in your collection a color that I show and you love. So you have all that information available to you. Obviously, I couldn't include all the colors in the world. I really tried to focus on the ones that I found unique and surprising and a little bit unpredictable. And so you won't find a ton of you know, what happens when we mix traditional blues like ultramarines and phthalos and all that with the traditional yellows, because we already know that information is already out there. Head on over to my website and look at all the information and, you know, grab your copy. It's an ebook, so you can immediately download it to your tablet or your PC. Obviously, you want something that is in full color. And yeah, let me know which one is your favorite. I have definitely some strong favorites of mixes, and I'm also really happy to have now this reference kind of organized for me to see which colors are kind of my superstars. So that is the exciting watercolor mixing ebook announcement. Moving on to something else that is super fun, which is I'm doing another Patreon run. It's going to be a 3-month run, very similar to the previous one that I did in the fall at the end of 2022. So it's just 3 months, and basically what you're going to get, there are 2 tiers. There's the basic tier, which you get early access to my YouTube videos and blog posts and updates and discounts on things like the book. And then there's the all access tier, which gives you tons of extra video content, lots of product talk and painting time. I actually still don't know exactly what's going to happen in the next months. I just know that I want to paint and I want to share all of that, you know, juicy creative process with you. So head on over to Patreon. You will also get access to all of the content from the previous run, which is tons and tons of like videos and painting process with acrylics and watercolors and oils. Really juicy, colorful deliciousness. And yeah, as I said, there are also exclusive discounts only to patrons on the book and on the third thing that I want to talk about, which is a new course. I'm also in the process of creating a new online course. And again, if you are a patron, you will get kind of first dibs, behind the scene look, and a special discount. So that's still coming. I will talk about it later in the month. I'm aiming to launch it somewhere in April. So more information on that coming. And now for the life stuff, which is, yeah, I guess, yes, I'm going to talk about it. So if you don't know me, in my previous life, and I don't mean, you know, previous life, I mean before I became a full-time artist and stay-at-home mom, I was a doctor. And I worked in a very busy, kind of intense hospital. And then in 2011, we moved to Austria. And everything kind of had to stop. I had to learn German and I had to go back to university because my diploma was not recognized in Austria. And eventually, and I did all those things, I decided to leave the medicine world because of many different reasons. But I guess the biggest one was that I found it to be quite stressful. The problem was that I was kind of only interested in working in a hospital and not really in the community, just because I don't feel like I have the personality that can deal with, you know, like the mass of like the daily. As a family physician, you're mostly dealing with like a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, and a lot of like paperwork. And a lot of, you know, one day stomach pain, one day diarrhea, one day throat pain, that sort of thing. And I think it's an incredibly important job and I admire everyone that does it. But I didn't feel it was right for me. I loved working in the hospital. I loved having like complicated cases. And I just really loved being there for people in need during sickness and, you know, sometimes death. And that has been also, if you followed me, if you kind of watched my chatty videos, you probably know it. I also write about it in my book, not the watercolor mixing book, my other book, Watercolor Freedom, shameless plug, that I always wondered, like in all these years, as much as I am absolutely loving being able to paint and kind of connect with other creatives and be a more present and calm mother to my kids, which was one of the biggest motives for me to leave the medicine world. I always wondered if I wasn't being, I don't want to say selfish in kind of focusing on art, but I really did see, you know, I went to medicine school when I was 20. I made that decision when I was 20, and I really went there to help people. I thought it would be intellectually challenging, and I thought it would be kind of, you know, if you want to help people, you can be a doctor, you can be a psychologist, you can be a social worker. That's kind of the traditional world that I come from. Those are the, let's say, roots that I know and that I know from my surroundings. Like all my friends are, not all my friends, but many of my friends are doctors or psychologists or, you know, engineers. It's like very clear traditional professions that I kind of understand what they do. And that was kind of it. And when I felt when I left the medicine world, I kind of closed that door behind me to help people with their wellness, well-being, and health. But in the last months, I discovered actually a profession that I didn't really know existed in this format. And so I've started training to become a wellness and health coach, mostly a wellness coach. And if you're not familiar with this, I wasn't familiar. I've heard about life coaches, and what I mostly know about it, again, I come from a very traditional background and I'm traditionally trained as an MD. What I knew about life coaches is that it is an extremely unregulated field, which is still true. And, you know, as with all unregulated fields, you can find all kinds of people there, and not necessarily people with not only like good intentions, but actual knowledge and evidence-based knowledge of how you can help people live a healthier or adopt a healthier lifestyle, change their habits. And so I'm really, really excited about that. I've started the training. I'm now in the learning stages and I actually want to do some more extensive learning before I start working with people. So it's a completely different way of helping people. And now that I learned more about it, I wish I had someone like that to help me when, let's say, like 5 years ago. And I remember exactly that period in my life. My youngest daughter, who is now 7, she was, I think, around 2, and things started to get, you know, a little bit saner, a little bit calmer. It wasn't that like constant, you know, 24-hour childcare situation. And I just wanted to take better care of myself. You know, I didn't want to just be in that mode of like eating leftovers. I wanted to transfer from that surviving mode to thriving mode. So the way that it looked for me was to adopt a predominantly whole food, plant-based nutrition. And I don't like to use the word diet because it always has that connotation of like weight loss. And that wasn't really a goal for me, although it was a wanted side effect. It was only when I actually looked at my eating habits. I've never had like horrible eating habits, but I did have a serious sugar addiction, and I ate more processed food than I would have liked to. I started changing my nutrition and improving it. It took so long. It was hard. There were all kinds of obstacles. Also in my very, very close environment, you know, some people that are very close to me didn't really understand why I needed to change things. It was, you know, kind of annoying and hard to have to make separate food because my family is not plant-based. So it took kind of years, a lot of struggles, a lot of like misinformation, trying to figure out who out there has, you know, information that is like reliable, and everyone has their like point of view, but there are people that will skew and cherry pick facts and research to fit their view. And then there are other people out there, they are out there, that will tell you, you know, there is no concrete research and data to say that, you know, for example, you shouldn't eat food X or Y, but I personally choose not to eat it for reasons X and Y. And so this is much more an attitude that I can respect. But my point is that it took me so long. And if I had someone like what I'm hoping to become help me through those times, I think I could have gotten to where I wanted to be so much faster and so much easier, and it would have just saved me so much time. You know, just like weeding your way through the internet, through charlatans, through people pushing products. You don't know, it's just like the amount of information out there and the amount of time you have to spend on figuring out which person is reliable and which one is not. It's just very, very time consuming and frustrating, and you just hear, you know, opposing arguments to everything all the time. And so I absolutely see the need for a wellness coach, which is someone who specializes in helping people change their habits and doing it in a way that is personalized, that is exactly customized to your needs. And so don't worry, this channel is not going to become a wellness and health channel, but if you're interested, then just keep on following me and I will update you when I start a separate YouTube channel or Instagram account, or both of them, I'm not sure, and kind of keep you updated. But I'm really, really excited. It's been so interesting, and I really can't wait to connect again with people on that level. In my dream fantasy life, I will be able to keep both things going, so painting and teaching art and sharing my watercolor adventures and all those things, as well as being a wellness coach. If you have any questions for me, you can leave them below. My email is also there, always in the video description of all my videos, so you can always reach out to me. But yeah, I wanted to keep you updated because I know many of you have been here for years. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me behind the scenes. So very, very exciting stuff. I still don't know exactly the path that this is going to lead me, but I kind of have an idea, and I think it is something that will work well with kind of the image that I have about my role and my calling in this world and in this life. And my kids are getting older, so it feels like a good time to start climbing another mountain, right? Why rest when you can work more? But I feel like it's not work, you know? Like all these things that I do, I try to do things that I really, really love, and then it doesn't feel like work, right? So I just wanted to share that, and that's it. I'm shutting up now. Take a look at that watercolor mixing book, and I'll see you very, very soon in another video. Take care. Bye bye.